Hello everyone, name's Ant. I'd like to help shed some light on the 24 volt through earth or through chassis ground through the frame of the printer issue that a couple people have been having. There's a thread on Reddit and a couple threads on Facebook right now. So huge shout out to folks that discovered this. My printer's back up and running. I really appreciate that. I want to start off by showing a quick way to test it and show you what I've done to fix it. And then I want to go into some of the terminology, and I'll flip this thing over and take a look inside the power supply and motherboard and show you exactly what's going on. So the first thing is someone on Facebook found out that the right clip, I'm only not giving credit where credit's due. Don't want to mention people's names here unless they had their permission, which I don't. But there was a gentleman on Facebook found this issue, so shout out to him, thank you very much. But this right clip tends to be the issue on the bed that holds the glass in. First, how to set up your multimeter. Okay, you want to definitely make sure that you've got it set to DC voltage and that it's high enough to where you can actually read 24 volts. I'll take the camera off here, show you. Okay, so yep, got mine set to DC voltage, high enough where I could see 24 volts. All right, then you want to come back here. This is probably the safest way to test to a DC ground pin. You take off the connector that goes to your bed leveling sensor, your optical sensor there. You want to pull the clip off, turn it towards you, and this bottom pin is DC ground. This way you don't risk shorting anything out. If you try to measure it from the USB port, you risk connecting the ground to the earth through the chassis. You could cause some sparks and you don't want to damage anything. So this is the safest way to test that. I did have my printer on. We can cool that thing down. We actually don't need it on right now. Alright, so the printer is currently cooling down. That's fine. And I have my fix installed here. It's a piece of Kapton tape that goes over the edge. So let me take that off and I'll get right back to you. Okay, so the Kapton tape has been removed from the bed. I've just got one of the screws installed right now. Turn the printer on. And so even with one screw installed here, got the probe on the bed, which is connected to earth, and it's displaying 24 volts. So even if I kind of wiggle this clip around, nothing happens, but as soon as I unscrew this screw just a little bit, the voltage drops back to 0 or close to it. The interesting thing here I found is if you do turn on the bed, for some reason the voltage changes to 12. So that can't be good. Something's going on. That can't be good for the power supply. And I'm sure that's causing a host of other unknown problems. So yeah, so like I said, as soon as you undo that screw on the right side, the voltage drops back to 0. I'll show you here what happens when we put the tape on. Kapton tape's great. It's got great heat resistant properties and it's not electrically conductive. So it's a great insulation as well. Okay, got that lined back up, covering the edge. Okay, I'm pretty sure that's where it's contacting the edge. I'm going to see here if you can. I thought my clip had a little bit of metal showing through the powder coat, but it doesn't. Okay, let's do one screw for now. And no 24 volts, so the Kapton tape seems to have done the trick. For the majority of you, that was probably enough information. You probably don't need this second half, but for those of you that are curious, kind of want to know what the heck is going on here, we're going to go into it a little bit further. All right, so I'm going to put my multimeter over to continuity mode. You don't really need to see the screen here, but I just want to show you guys. So this middle prong here is known as earth, right? And this goes into mains voltage, goes into the wall. So no matter what country you're from, you're going to have a live and neutral, which are typically the side prongs, and then the ground is what a lot of people call it. Really, it's earth. Okay, and this is, like I said before, to protect the user from electric shock, from a surge, lightning strike, something like that. All right, so just to make sure that your printer is wired up correctly, which it should be, you can connect a probe to that terminal, and then you should get continuity anywhere on the frame, whether that's let's see, up here at the top, or the screws on the side by the display, okay, or maybe down here where there's some bare metal over by the plug. All of that's connected, and that's what you want to see in a commercial product, so that's good. Okay. All right, now let's flip it over. Okay, so like I said when I first started talking about this, I definitely had some power supply problems, and they only manifested themselves after I started messing around with it, trying to put in the Noctua fans to make it quieter. But part of me wonders if this was what happened the whole time. So I'm just going to take this apart real quick, and I'll fast forward here in a second. Okay, so I'm going to move the camera here. I'm not going to take the top cover off of the power supply. There's some high voltage capacitors up there, and it was literally just plugged in a second ago, and they're still charged up, and I would prefer not to get electrocuted. I highly recommend if you guys take this thing apart, be very, very, very careful. Maybe watch some videos on how to take apart power supplies before you try to attempt something like that. Okay. All right. So here is the power supply. On the right, we have the mains voltage. This is live, neutral, and earth. This yellow wire is earth. Or mains voltage ground, okay? Then you've got all your DC power. This is the output of the power supply. V minus is DC ground. Those are going to be your black wires. Okay, so we got 3 of those. Okay, and we have 3 positive. This is the 24 volts positive. This red wire goes to the main motherboard. And then this yellow wire I added. This is powering my fans. I've got it up to a voltage buck converter that takes the voltage down from 24 to 12, and then my fans are connected to that. So these fans run all the time. So the issue that when that clip is screwed in on the bed without the tape, you can also test your power supply like this. So if you were to unscrew these 2 wires here, careful not to touch anything else, like I said. Okay, this isolates the motherboard and the motherboard, 24 volt motherboard power from everything else. And you should be able to connect your probe to 24 volts. Okay, and then you should be able to take your other probe and touch earth with no connection, because they shouldn't be connected. There's no way. There's no reason why. Let's see the cameras. There's no reason why those should be connected. Okay, and now I'm going to take that clip back off, put it back on without the tape, and I'll show you what happens. I'll show you what happens with the short. Okay, I've got that clip back installed, so again, the probe on the 24 volts makes contact with chassis, so that is not good. Once again, thanks everybody. Hopefully this helps some folks troubleshoot issues they've got going on with their printers. Hopefully this clears some things up. If you have any other questions, just shout out through Facebook there. Thanks. See ya.